Don't just show up to Supercross. Be part of the weekend. 511 is hosting a free event with custom Jeeps, a great crowd, and more. Tomorrow from 2 to 6 with Jake and Ben. They'll be at their Salt Lake store. That's at 369 West, 1830 South in Salt Lake. Well, PK, the question before the people now is Tait George will represent the Jazz at the lottery selection. Who is your choice? And this question offered two answers. One was a group of people who thought who should be sitting up on the podium as the good luck charm. And the other one was, which player do you want to pick? I suppose you and men were talking about Tait George and who should be up there representing the club.
Yeah. Who do you want?
Brian wants Thurl Bailey because he needs some of that old school jazz with the winning attitude right up front there.
Hasn't Thurl done it, though?
I think he did. I think he did do it in the last rebuild, I think. It's been a while.
How'd it work?
I don't remember. Probably not well because it never works well. But I don't remember what happened.
Now's the time that it will work well then.
See? Give him another shot, right?
Yeah.
The person who got multiple shout-outs that I think might be a little less expected, Tyson says it's got to be Dallin Oaks.
What?
Seems fitting, and I'm sure he'd be up for it.
The president of the church?
What?
And David says Dallin H. Oaks, if either Dallas or San Antonio gets the top pick, he can dust off his feet on the way out.
No.
Okay, then.
Come on. That's it. No.
Got multiple people.
I'm not sure that's
Surprised.
appropriate. And I live in the category of inappropriate.
Dust off his feet on the way out. You didn't like that reference? Somebody's been paying attention.
No. I mean, it's too religious.
All right. Eric Lechner, Rusty says. We're going back to old school jazz. Wyoming's Eric Lechner.
Eric Lechner?
Yeah.
Did he
back
play for
in
the
day.
Did he play for the Jazz?
I thought he did briefly.
Oh, I don't know.
One of those, blowing through town on the way in and the way out real quick.
Yeah, I remember the guy when he played at Wyoming. I understand.
Yeah.
I know who Eric Lechner was. I don't remember him playing for the Jazz.
Leslie wants John Stockton there.
John Stockton. Well, gosh, I mean, you probably can't get him to shut up once he gets there.
It's true. He's much more available now.
He's probably already got a commitment. He's doing some autograph signing somewhere.
I thought he would go back to Spokane and we wouldn't hear from him again. I thought of all the people who will be quiet and go away, absolutely Stockton. And that's not how it's played out.
Yeah, but things that resonated in his heart, he needs to speak.
Apparently, yeah.
And I support his right to speak it all the way through.
Yep.
Even if I don't necessarily agree with what the topic that he's speaking on. But it has been kind of funny there in the COVID thing. You couldn't get him to stop talking. He was doing every podcast. He might as well you're always looking for podcasts. Why don't you do one with Stockton?
Ooh. Wonder if he did that. Dan says it was Colin Sexton 2 years ago, Ashley Smith last year. Maybe send one of the Utah Mammoth.
No. I think they should send Dan Roberts.
You do not. That is an epic you answer right there, though. That is on brand, man. That is.
Why not?
Well, to quote a famous athlete, do you really want me to get into it?
What are you, Max Hall?
Yes, I am.
Well,
I think Max had the right answer right there.
And what did I say
Thanks,
when
Max, for providing me
asked
that. I appreciate
he was
it.
talking to me. He said, he looked right at me because I asked the question, and he said, "Do you really want me to go into it?" And I said, "Yes."
please.
Were you in the room then, Yuck?
No, I wasn't.
I
I can tell you exactly where I was though. So I
Where
hear
were you?
I'm listening to the postgame press conference. I'm with my buddy, and I hear the question get asked. I can tell you the exact spot. I was in the car waiting in traffic while that answer went down. We were just like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, I asked the question.
It was right there. It was right there on University Avenue. I can take you right to the spot.
And then at the Vegas Bowl, his mother got in my face.
Didn't you say you baited him or
Oh,
whatever?
yeah, she was hot. She was hot. Because I was doing some TV work for another place in time, and it was dark, but we had the camera in the spotlight, and so, you got to light it up. So, yeah, she found me. I didn't go find her. She found me. Because I was going to interview Matt Ballman, but they said no, he had to go. I don't remember who they played.
Last time he can get interviewed.
But they won the game, and we're out on the field there. We were doing work for another station, and
Go where? Great answer.
She did confront me on the field, and I may or may not have told that to a Utah coach that night, and we got a good laugh out of it. But that's okay. I mean, it's her son and blah blah blah. I mean, that's who Max was, man. And now it's lore that has just it's rivalry. It's rivalry. And I can remember going that I had to be in the Bay Area for some personal thing, and it had nothing to do that night. So I went to an Oakland A's game, me and about 2,000 other people, and this guy right behind me. And, I mean, we could have had rows, but ended up together right behind me. And I heard him talk, and somehow we got the conversation. And, what do you do, blah, blah, blah. And I told him. He says, yeah, I don't understand why that was such a big deal. That's what a rivalry's all about. And so, yeah, I saw that. I heard that. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's why it's a rivalry. That's the very reason. He wouldn't have said that about any other school in the entire country. He wouldn't have said it. But it was Utah. And that's why that rivalry, I mean, he's just going to town on the beauty of the rivalry. And he's just a sports fan from the Bay Area. He's got no connection whatsoever. And he's just telling me, why did everybody make such a big deal about that? And he had to apologize, blah, 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 blah. And hey, you got a point there, buddy.
Okay, I've got it then. We're sending Max Hall.
I don't know. Is Max Hall a Jazz fan or a Suns fan?
I don't know. He's not in Arizona, but
yeah. No, I want Dan Roberts. You took Dan Roberts to the departure was bitter. I understand that, but I meant him standing there with that great voice of his and. How about them Jazz? Bring him out. And when they get the number one pick, yeah, I just meant for the excitement that he could bring, right? I mean, he did that legendary for years. I don't know who the new guy is, but he hadn't anything to talk about. I mean, they hadn't, this season is a rebuild season, There'll be good times, and this new guy can make his own mark. I don't even know his name. But Dan, with those pipes and that, we associate the arena with the Jazz coming out, timeouts, or what have you, with his voice during the good times. That's why I said Dan Roberts.
Eric wants there to be an empty chair representing the Jazz. Silent protest. Be kind of weird if they finally hit and they had an empty chair there. That'd be a bad look.
Well, you got to send somebody who's connected to Utah. I got the perfect guy. Ace DeBonsa.
Who? Yes, we were getting that. His parents have gotten multiple shout-outs.
Oh, they have?
People. A lot of people on board with you right there.
Yeah. Ace likes a crowd. He's comfortable being around folk. He's been there. He's done interviews, right? He seems like he's got some charisma. He's got Utah ties now, man.
Yep.
That would be funny.
Glenn says AJ's dad and or mom send both the parents. But see, that'd be pretty awkward if, Golden State moves up. And we have people saying that. Whoever goes, be prepared. Keep that straight face when the Warriors move up. I don't know where I was. I was somewhere, and I saw a screen, and it was they were doing a projection of different teams if they hit the way Dallas hit, moving up. Well, if the Warriors got him, here's their starting lineup, assuming everybody's healthy, right? Butler and Draymond, and keep the band together and plug him in, and Steph Curry, and yeah.
Whoop-de-doo. Locke tells us rookies don't win games, they lose games.
Yep.
And Locke is your gospel, man. When he speaks, you believe everything he says.
Well, I think if he were here right now, he would point out PK Edgecombe was one of the guys launching threes last night that weren't going in. He had some that did go in too, but late in the game, he was out there.
You just
Couldn't
proved
hit a
my
shot.
point right there.
Nor could anyone.
All you did is just
There it is.
you furthered
You
my
gang
point
up on me right there.
that he's gospel to you, and that's
I
fine.
know.
You too.
See?
You can just bathe yourselves in stats. Awesome.
Another guy who's getting a lot of shout-outs is Carlos Boozer. And obviously with the tie with his son, projected to go very high in the draft.
Oh, yeah, for
Maybe
sure.
3, but we'll see.
I'd take his son.
So multiple people want Carlos there.
I would be quite content with Cameron Boozer playing for the Jazz.
That'd be a win.
Yeah. Because I think he'll be solid. To what level? Coming into this year's team next year, it may take a bit. Stockton needed to sit for a little bit because they had Ricky Green, an accomplished player, ahead of him, right? And then that situation sorted itself out. Well, you get a Cameron Boozer, very good player. There's no doubt in my mind. I've been watching him play for multiple years now. That he comes in, but that's the strength. His position is the strength of the team. But that gives Austin Ainge more options. And Ainge with options is dangerous. I will say that. I'm very confident of that.
Like the thought of getting somebody on a rookie contract that they can plug in and play because they got a couple highly paid guys. They're about to have another one. We'll see to what degree, assuming that gets worked out with Kessler. So to have a couple guys in the rotation on rookie deals in the first and second year and staying on those rookie deals for a couple years, that'll be a huge win.
Yeah, and plus,
but you got to move up.
The guys who are going to be highly paid, I also believe that they would be sought after. Meaning, if you wanted to move Markkanen, there are people who would want Lauri Markkanen on their team because he's a really good player.
Yeah, you could search that right now and see all kind of rumors. I saw, with the teams as they get knocked out, people they'll do segments or write profiles or whatever. And in Toronto, and they had a whole list of that. How does Toronto upgrade? They're in the middle of the East, and it's not that far to the top of the East. And they had a whole list of players Toronto could be aggressive and go get. And of course, Markkanen was on the list. Made me think of like a Matt Harpering back in the day. You're good enough, you're going to be on a list because you can help a lot of people. Now, do they want it at $50 million, and who else could they get with that money? And everybody's got to weigh that. But his name's always going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
I think we just have to get used to that. Whether they move him or not, the name's going to be out there.
And Harpering was a nice player, but I think Markkanen's better. But still, the point you were making, I take that.
More size.
Understand. Yeah. And so I'm just saying that if they can get a top 3 pick, maybe they don't even need that, but just go on the assumption of that. They have an opportunity then to do different things, maybe things that we have never even thought about that could come their way. And they would have the cliche of no stone unturned and all that stuff to see. This Mother's Day deal is an extremely important day for the Jazz, as it is for other teams too, but we focus on the Jazz. And if things break right, it just really could set them up for a nice run. And then you've got a nucleus, and maybe it's not quite good enough now, but you've got a strong nucleus to where you could add some parts that make it even better in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years. Yeah, I don't want to go crazy here.
Yeah.
But I think that this, if it goes their way, that there can be some really good times ahead.
It does need to go their way, and you're right about an Ainge with options, and it's necessary because although I'm bullish on what this group can accomplish next year, I also think there's clearly a ceiling to what this group can accomplish. So they're going to need options to, as you say, add pieces over 2, 3, or 4 years.
Right.
This is a I think it's going to be a much better team next year, but the goal is to open a championship window. You haven't heard me say anything about them opening a championship window next year. If that happens, I'm surprised. If it happens, I assume it's because there are other moves made, as you say, that we can't anticipate right now. I think they're building a 50-win team for next year, and I think they could maybe win a playoff series. We'll have to see how that shakes out. But I don't expect anything beyond that. I think it's 50 wins, and it's out in the first or second round. That's the combination we're probably looking at right now, given the way the West stacks up. But to your point, if they get some good fortune and there's a chance to make other moves, especially if some of the pieces are a little bit redundant, and then who knows what that looks like, maybe we'll have a new assessment. Sitting here today, I don't think there's any point in going out on that limb. But it is a better team, and they might have a little bit of playoff success, but they'll need those options. They'll need to make multiple moves if they're going to have more than that. That's how it looks right now, and obviously there's a long way to go, and Sunday at 1 o'clock is really important.
Yeah, well, especially with San Antonio and Oklahoma City sitting there, and the nucleus of their guys are so stinking young that you can argue, certainly in the San Antonio situation, that they're not even close to their peak and their best. You know, Bill Armstrong talks about the best, that they have these guys, these prospects, and when they're in there ready to go, that's when they're going to be at their best. And you don't have the minor leagues in the basketball to that level. I realize you got the G League, but most of those guys that come up aren't stars in the way that you have a baseball minor league and a hockey minor league. So the Spurs are scary in that you could argue they're 2-3 years away from being at their best. And so the Jazz are going to have to compete with that, and we'll see what OKC does in the next 2 to 3 years. But, you know, for now, it's about themselves and making their team the best. And you got to get to 50 wins before you can even think about being a title contender. You got to get to 50 wins. Now, getting 50 wins doesn't make you a title contender, but in order to be a title contender, you've got to get to the 50-win plateau. I wonder if you went in the history of the league, how many teams are winning titles without winning 50 games? Probably not very many, right? That seems the threshold of the starting point. If you win 50, you're a pretty good team, and then see what you got and what the matchups are from that point on, and who's available, who's hurt, what have you, and all that stuff. And so they've got to get to there. And if they get to there in the 26-27 season, it'd be hard for me to say, well, that was a bad season. We'll see what happened in the playoff. But get to that point. Can this team next season, and we don't know what the roster is and its complete composition, but can this team get to 50 wins? Because then when you get to 50 wins, as long as you don't do a bunch of stupid moves and break it up, like the Suns did with Hornacek, they got to 48 and they broke it up. It made no sense, right? Stupid. And I don't think the Jazz would do that. But let's see if they can get to 50, and at that point, then you're on to something. And where do you go from there?
I would bet that in our professional careers, the only team that's won a title without getting to 50 was Olajuwon's Rockets. I bet that's the only time. There might be another one out there, and I've never looked that up, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. It just, you got to get there. And
right.
The funny thing is the way the league stacks up right now, and the West is so good, and the two teams at the top are so good, if you can win 2 playoff series in the West right now, you are a title contender. Winning that second series right now makes you a title contender. I don't think you can say that in the East, but you can say that in the West for sure.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, Matt Tait covering the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports, our spring football tour with Matt next. Stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
The head coach of the University of Utah, Alex Jensen, kind enough to hang out with us.
I knew there's not any one person or one thing to blame, but the decline with the basketball at the University of Utah, I knew it had gone down. We played 4 top 10 teams at home, and we played Arizona was number 1 in the country, and the place was half full. And I remember walking out, and it was the first time I got pissed off because things had just slid, and it's everything. There's just a disconnect, I think, through the community. can't count how many people that came up and said, yeah, we've had tickets, or we used to have tickets. Everybody remembers going to a camp when they were young, and they have memories of a game and stuff. It takes a while to build. The connection's been lost. And it doesn't help that the team changes as much as it does every year. I'd love to have the continuity, but that's just not with the rules the way they are now. It's not the world we live in.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined right now by Matt Tait. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. How we doing, guys?
We are doing well this morning. Kansas Jayhawks, they are going to play both Utah and BYU, and as you're probably about to find out, my co-host went to Arizona State, and they're on the schedule too. So they got we like to joke about our three local teams. ASU in September, Utah in October, BYU in November. And I am curious, in an era when a lot of people have stopped spending money on facilities and spent it on players, obviously Kansas had this massive stadium rebuild, and you'd argue that just had to be done, the state of the program and all that. Is that providing the type of momentum and energy going forward, both in recruiting but also in the fan base and donors and all that, that is expected to, or is there a little bit of thought that, man, we zigged when everyone else zagged and it's left us a little behind?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think the response to what they've done and they've done it right is the most important part. It's not been a Band-Aid approach. They knocked the whole thing down and really didn't cut any corners and have made it an incredible facility. And it's beyond 6 football games in the fall too. I mean, they're using that thing year round and certainly plan to do more and more as it gets complete and as the years move on. So, they did it right. That got people excited. It looks nice. It looks fancy. It's as nice as there is maybe in the country in terms of, seat for seat, pound for pound, all that stuff. And I think the momentum would be off the charts if they just won better the last couple of years. I mean, 5-7 the last 2 years, good enough to be good, not good enough to be good, leaving a little to be desired. Obviously, they had a ton of talent both of those years, and especially at the quarterback position. And so I think the jury's still out a little bit on how all in people are, because they want to support a winner on that field. It's great to have the facility, but they want to watch their team win. And so this year, next year, very big years for the program. They were so close to a bowl game each of the last 2 years, and really even just getting to 6-6 would have changed the trajectory entirely. I mean, especially at Kansas, you don't take bowl games and bowl appearances for granted at all. So I think the 5-7 records have hurt them a little bit, but by and large, people are still interested, excited, and the program's still relevant around here, and that's what makes this year such a big, big year.
Quarterback-wise, you got Cole Ballard, Isaiah Marshall, Rice transfer, Chase Jenkins. What do you think?
Yeah, it's down to Ballard and Marshall for sure. Jenkins is a really nice player, brings some depth, brings some athleticism. They like him. They wouldn't have brought him in if they didn't, and those other two guys like him too. So I just think he's too far behind, and he's been injured a little bit in spring. So I really think it's a race at the top with those other two guys, and it's a really interesting battle. I mean, all quarterback battles are interesting by nature, but it's a really interesting battle because in some ways Cole and Isaiah are similar, and in other ways they're completely different. I mean, Cole is a really bright quarterback. He runs the offense the way it needs to be run. He knows where guys are going to be. He knows how to get teams into good plays and out of bad plays. He knows, how to be consistent. He knows how to be smart, and he's got a little bit of experience. Isaiah is the opposite of that. I mean, the question with him is, how well can he run the offense? How does it look when he's out there in charge? We haven't seen it a ton. He's been on the field some, but mostly just as a playmaker. And that's where he's exciting for people, is because he is a dynamic talent. I mean, when he gets going with his legs, he can make plays that Cole can't make. He can make plays that a lot of guys can't make. So I think the whole thing's going to come down to consistency, and if you made me pick today, I'd probably give the edge to Cole Ballard because of that. I mean, he just has a more consistent approach, and he's shown that in the limited time he's been able to be out there. But I do think they'll both play. I mean, I think if Cole Ballard's your starter, I still think they have a handful of packages and maybe more than we've seen in the past for Isaiah to be in the game, because he's too good of an athlete and too explosive and too dynamic of a player on any potential snap for him to not play at all. So I think even if it is Cole as the starter, I think they're going to find a way to play them both, not in a 2-quarterback system or alternating drives or anything crazy like that. I asked this spring about that, and it's been done. I don't know that many coaches, if any anymore, want to do that ever or even like it, but what they're talking about is different than that. So I think they both play, but I'd have to pick Cole Ballard as of now. Isaiah's going to need a really, really good camp to pass him.
So that leads us to the receiving corps then. Cam Pickett is back. Their transfers, 50 new players, 32 of them transfers. 12 early enrollee freshmen I read about. But Nick McMillan, a transfer from Buffalo, Najee Cox from Middle Tennessee, along with Cam Pickett returning. Is it wide receiver by committee? Is there somebody who's going to jump out of this group and be dominant? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit unknown right now. I think, they've got bodies there that they like. I think if you were to name someone who would jump out, like you just talked about, I think it would be Cox. I think there's a lot to like about his game. Big, strong, physical, big hands, good, strong hands. I mean, he seems to me, and we're not out there every day in the spring and obviously aren't with them all the time either, but just talking to the coaches, talking to some of his teammates, I mean, his was a name that kept coming up, and it also was kind of centered around the idea that he keeps coming up because he keeps getting better, and the light bulb keeps going on for him every day, and he learns a little something and then commits it to memory, and then he's got it. And so I think, if you were looking for a breakout kind of guy, that would probably be as good a bet as anybody. He's not a guarantee in that regard by any means, but he's definitely somebody they like and have high hopes for. But you're right, Cam Pickett's a huge player that's on the returning list. I mean, he was a dynamic part of last year's offense and had some injuries that he battled through that kept him from really breaking out and being the explosive guy that he can be. But he's a veteran. There's a rapport there with those quarterbacks that already exists, and he knows the system and he knows the offense. And of course, the other part of that is Andy Kotelnicki's back as their offensive coordinator after 2 years at Penn State. Did really, really well, relatively speaking, at Penn State. I mean, he had them in the playoffs the first year, and then it all kind of fell apart last year. And so Kansas was really lucky to land him again. I did not think he would find his way back here. I really didn't. He's a future head coach. I kind of thought he might go find that position now at a lower level or something like that. But the connection that he has with his staff, the connection that he has with Lance Leipold is unbelievable. And so when he was available and they kicked around the idea of bringing him back, I think both sides were really excited about it. And he's back, and it's almost like he never left. And so as much as the Cam Pickett's of the world and some other guys that have been here in the past are veterans in a sense, and there's some value in those returners. Andy's new to a lot of them too, and so there is a little bit of that adjustment that needs to happen, and that's obviously what spring was about in a big way. But from everything I hear, man, Andy's come back and he's really allowed the terminology and the things that existed here after he left to stay in place, and he's learned it instead of forcing the players to learn what he wants and what he calls things and things like that. He's learned their language, and that's a credit to him for sure. He's a heck of a coach, and I really do think it was noticeable with him gone, and I do think it'll be noticeable with him back. He's just an excellent play caller, and he does some really fun stuff out there, and even when you're overmatched talent-wise, he can find a way to sort of negate that.
Top 4 rushers, or top 3 rushers, I should say, are gone from last season, the 2 running backs, and then Jalen Daniels, obviously the quarterback. So what's going to happen as far as who's carrying the ball?
Well, Dylan Edwards is an incredible talent. He's had a heck of a weird career. He's a Kansas kid. KU recruited him hard out of Derby High School when he was one of the top prospects in the country. I couldn't even give you the list in order of where he chose and didn't choose, but I know he played at Colorado, and I know he played at K-State, and I know Notre Dame was in the mix too. But he finally landed at Kansas. Incredible player. I mean, he really is. It's as much mental with him. I mean, he's got to have his head on straight and be right and be happy and be in a place that he feels good. And all signs this spring pointed to him maybe feeling better than he's ever felt as a college football player. And part of that's credit to him. Part of that's credit to this staff. Part of that's credit to his teammates because, he was a sort of lightning rod for attention at all of those other stops. And there were some really highs and some really lows. He's an interesting player, but his talent is undeniable. And everything that I've heard about him so far is that, this guy is a game changer. And so he's a nice piece that you can add for what you just mentioned, making up for the loss of what was in that running back room last year. He's a nice piece for a coach like Andy Kovalnicki to have because he can do so many different things with him. If he stays healthy and stays happy, I mean, he should be as good as there is in the conference and has a chance to have a real monster year. They do have some talent behind him. Yassine Willis is a player they brought in, a big physical punishing runner, but, he likes to say that, he's not just that. I mean, he's got some moves and some shake to him too. But he'll happily run over you as well. It's really wild to watch those two guys stand next to each other because Dylan's tiny and it's sort of like that Brandon Jacobs photo from the Giants years ago. And I can't remember who the other guy in the photo was, but big and small, extra large and extra small. I mean, it's wild to see that they play the same position. But there's a couple other backs, a couple returners that have been kind of in and out of health and are hoping to make a splash. Kid named Thurman's one. And then there's a true freshman that everybody talks about and really likes. And his name's Corey Amakri, and he's from Michigan and physically, mentally, everything. He brings an approach that certainly doesn't seem like a true freshman. I mean, he looks like he's ready to play meaningful snaps right away, and I would at this point be shocked if he doesn't contribute in some way. So a totally different room. You're right about that, but it's not missing talent, and it's not missing depth, and it's not missing options. I mean, they can do a lot of things with the backs they have.
Matt Tait joining us, Kansas Spring Football Tour. You already mentioned the back-to-back 5-win seasons, not getting bowl eligible. Giving up almost 27 points a game and 173 yards on the ground. It's clear the rush defense has to get better, and the defense has to improve if Kansas is going to have winning records and be bowl eligible in that. So what does the D-line look like? How much did they beef that up?
Yeah, you mentioned the number of transfers, and so there's a lot of guys up there that are factoring into that as well, and they're all new to us, right? So we hear what we hear, and there's some names that are thrown around, but without having seen it or gotten to know them or actually seen them deliver on Saturdays, it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. I know that, the D-line, it's obviously a little bit different when you're talking interior and on the edge, but Leroy Harris is a guy that they're really excited about. He had a pretty strong year last year and was still very much, growing into the position and into himself and into the sport and all of that. And so I think the expectation with Leroy is to have a monster year this year. And there's no reason to think that he can't. I mean, hard worker, incredible length, incredible, athleticism. I mean, he's one of those guys that just really seems like he's ready to take the next step and to make an impact that's bigger than he's had before, and they're going to need that. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Is it's not just they hope he makes that impact; they need him to. And so I think that's a name to watch on the D-line for sure. I mean, again, he's an edge rusher, and so it's a little bit different when you're talking about the interior and the edge, but he's a huge part of it. Blake Harreld's another guy on the interior. He's not going to wow anybody really, but he's just always been there, and he's a veteran KU guy. He's been here his whole career, and he's just a steady, hard-working dude, makes plays, continues to get better, and that's certainly a name that people know, and he still, I think, has a chance to even take another step forward in his production and what he can bring to the defense. They brought in a couple of guys. There's a guy named Iman Smalls. They call him Biggie. He's a name to watch up there too, 6'2", 315 pounds. Dak Brinkley's another Kansas guy. He's been here his whole career. He's on the edge there, on the other side from Leroy, and Dak was highly recruited out of high school in Arizona, and stuck with Kansas. He came in with 2 or 3 guys from the same high school, and I think the other 2 are gone now. They transferred out, but he stuck it out, and he's had playing time, but now's the time for him to take the next step, and everything seems to be as it should be with him. I mean, they're ready for him to have that breakout year, but it's not like he's behind or has disappointed in any way. I mean, he just keeps getting better, and he keeps getting more experience. And so Leroy and Dak are the edge guys to watch, and then with Biggie and Blake Harold and another guy, David Santiago, who came spent some time at Michigan State and Air Force. That's another interior guy, edge guy. I mean, they have a lot of guys, like I said, that are hoping to just kind of slot into a rotation. They don't mind, rotating guys through and keeping fresh legs on the field. If they have, 8 D tackles that can play and they're all worthy of playing time, they'll find a way to play all 8. If they only have 2, then they'll lean on those guys. But I think they're still sorting that out a little bit. But those are some names to watch and guys that will have to have an impact for this defense to be better.
The thought is if you go overseas and that's where they're playing ASU, that those teams come back and there's a struggle, and I think they have a bye, and then Middle Tennessee, then they play Utah. Was there any concern about that? Because I think that was part of Kansas State's thing the year before in Ireland this past season. I'm wondering what the ramification was as far as anything negative by playing that game over there.
I think they're super excited about it. I do. I mean, I know what you're talking about, and I think they like the way the schedule sets up in that regard. They do play Missouri right before that game, which is, their biggest rival from all the way back to the Civil War. So, it's a little bit of a wild stretch there when you look at it that way, but having the bye after the game is important. And then, of course, there are reports out there that say they're making $2.7 million to go play the game. So in this day and age, if someone's going to give you $2.7 million, you'll go play wherever they want you to play. I mean, and Lance has talked about, wanting to do a game like this from the time he got here. There's a lot that he likes about the idea of being the only game in town, being sort of a spotlight showcase game. It gets more attention. It gets more eyeballs. That certainly helps with recruiting. That helps with your fan base. I think they hope a lot of people are going to go over. I think if they were back-to-back bowl teams and had won one of those or 2 of those maybe, I think the number of Kansas fans that would make that trip would be enormous. But I think that's where they may pay for that a little bit. They may not get the fan support and the travelers that they initially hoped when they decided to jump into this game. But I think overall they're excited about it. It's an awesome opportunity to be in that showcase and then also show recruits and whatever, that you'll go do things like this. So, they've got to play the game and they've got to show well, and obviously they want to win. And if they don't win against a really tough opponent and they get their doors blown off, maybe they'll have some negatives on the back end of it. But right now I've heard nothing but excitement and positive stuff about the opportunity and just the fact that they're going to do this is something they've wanted to do.
He's Matt Tait. He covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Wave the Wheat and R1S1 Sports. Matt, thanks for taking a few minutes and talking spring football with us here and getting us ready for Big 12 football in the fall.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. But, I'll take summer first. So you guys enjoy it. And that Arizona State thing, the connection you have there is interesting because KU and Arizona State baseball are both factoring into the Big 12 race right now. So
First and second place.
There you go. Enjoy that if you're paying attention, and that's a whole other topic that we could get into another time. But for Kansas baseball to be ranked 7th in the country is even more mind-blowing than the big football stadium and bowl games on Saturdays. It's unbelievable. So thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you again.
Thank you, Matt. See, Matt getting right in your wheelhouse right there, PK. Let's go college baseball, huh?
Yeah, each team has 2 series left, and then on to the conference tournament.
Yep. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. Coming up, we got to dive into the NBA Draft Lottery. We're doing that at the top of the hour. It's coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock. Stay with us, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
They've been doing it for a while.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but are we experiencing the most uninteresting NBA playoff we've had for a while? Oklahoma City's great. San Antonio looks to be pretty good. Everybody else sucks. I don't think San Antonio's as good as Oklahoma City. I think it might be even a one-sided West, which seems crazy, but
whoever comes out of the East is going to get trounced by whoever comes out of the West. The only series I think anyone's truly waiting for now in the playoffs is Spurs Thunder. And that's going to come in the conference finals, and that's going to be viewed as essentially the finals, because whoever wins that's going to get the championship. So I think everybody's waiting for that.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And a reminder, here comes Mother's Day, and Minky Couture is here to help. Join Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, at Minky Couture in Layton today from 10 to 2. Shop now for Mother's Day deals or get 50% off any regularly priced blanket with the code ZONE50. Mother's Day this weekend. Get on your game. Try not to mess it up. Cocktail dress, PK? Down to Kmart or JCPenney's?
No, that's Valentine's. No. You want to fortify your mother or your wife. You want to make sure that she's honored. The cocktail dress really just honors me. It's about me for Valentine's Day. Mother's Day, it's about her. You know what I'm saying there, doggy?
I hear you now. Now I get it. Now I'm clear. Thank goodness I had you spell it out for me so I didn't mess this up. Don't get my holidays confused.
Right. Birthday, maybe, anniversary. You know, you can get a little, but Mother's Day, that's a deep-rooted holiday. And it should be Mother's Month.
There you go.
Not just a day. I mean, mothers, come on. That's the toughest job in the world, is it not? And it never ends. It literally never ends. Your whole life.
Moms carry a major weight.
Yes. About 90% in my instance.
My mother-in-law used to say, parenting gets a lot harder after they turn 18. It was way easier to give orders than it is to make suggestions. It's a pretty good line.
Well, yeah, the bigger they are, the bigger the problems.
There you go. All right. Minky Couture today. Scotty G and the coach will be there from 10 to 2. Zone 50. That's the code to save you 50%. Zone 50. We've listened to a few, and we're just getting started here with the spring football tour. But with Utah and BYU back in the same league now and playing some of the same opponents, it does shorten it up a little bit. We've had a few teams here. We just had Arizona yesterday where they are both playing them. You getting any feel for these teams, or when you got 50 transfers and even the people covering the team who aren't allowed to watch practice? It's like there's just too many unknowns right now.
Well, I think you have a feel, but you know that there's so many different variables that are involved that things can change. And players that have had a little bit of experience, maybe they get in a better situation if you're talking about the transfer situation there, and then they can catch lightning if they are good and the system is good and the players around them are good. We've seen that, so you don't really know for sure. But I think you have a feel to a large degree about what the seasonal goals are for Kansas. Bowl eligibility is a big deal because they didn't get it the last 2 seasons. And that, when you only need 6,
right,
and you should set yourself up with at least 2 in your non-conference schedule, maybe not all 3.
They did.
And so you're a quarter of the way or a third of the way there, I should say, right, with 2. And if you don't get it, it ends up being extremely disappointing. It's not that high of a bar to achieve. So I think each of these teams have different goals. And for Kansas right now, I think that goal is to be bowl eligible. We were talking about Arizona. I think for the Cats, it's to see, can they put together a really good season and cash in on Fafita's tenure as the longest tenured quarterback in the conference. Certainly at the same school. He's never left, and he's had opportunities, obviously. Because he's short, he's probably going to have a hard time in the NFL, but as a college football quarterback, I think he's really good.
DJ and PK, when we come back, we got to dive into the NFL Draft Lottery. It's coming up Sunday at 1 o'clock. Matt Babcock, NBA and draft analyst for Babcock Hoops, will join us next. Stay with us.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And now everything's on sale during our Memorial Day event. Save up to $1,200 on mattresses for a limited time. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number, to a good life sleep.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Just top.